Greetings. Welcome to A Place Called Resilience podcast. I'm Martin Perry, and I'm delighted to be here with my friend and co-host, Emmy Schaling. Greetings, Emmy.
Thank you.
And tonight we have a special guest joining us from Israel. It's our pleasure and privilege to welcome Dan Ossia. Dan, greetings.
Greetings to you.
How are you? So, for anyone tuning in to this podcast for the first time, A Place Called Resilience is a research into the quality of resilience. Now, this is our fourth recording, and so far, the three previous recordings have captured very different flavors and feelings about resilience, very much in accordance with the character and uniqueness of the person sharing their resilient stories. One of the flavors that very much comes through these recordings is the uniqueness of each life and the uniqueness of each person's story, adventure, and journey in this part of the universe, and the part resilience plays in that journey. So I'm very much looking forward to exploring resilience with you tonight, Dan. Emmy, anything you'd like to say before we open the door into the world of Dan Ossia?
Well, I'm looking forward to the surprises this evening will give us.
Absolutely.
I don't think that any existence, any biological life could exist 1 second without it, without resilience. But trying to refer to it in a more particular way, I will say that I probably didn't have regular biography from any standpoint. I was raised all over the world. I grew up in Africa, Far East, and so on. And until I came to my current home for the last 35 years, I shifted maybe 34 or something like this addresses. So that's one thing. The other thing is my dyslexia, which I gave you a live example just before we started this meeting. It is something that I didn't understand or was not aware of it in the first 35 years of my life. Nobody was aware of it. So can you imagine how much efforts somebody needs to put into just being acknowledged as a normal person in a society which does not recognize dyslexia, and how much resilience one needs to do it for just to live this life. I found out that I developed unconsciously innumerable techniques of survival. I can't remember names. It's a great relief that I have your names scripted down your picture. And I kind of have a different arrangement. Now, don't misunderstand me. It's not something that I take as a misfortune. On the contrary, I completely understand that this is allowing me different perceptions and different service in this universe, this ecology. And I know that from many aspects, I have capabilities which are compensation for what other people regard as normal qualities.
It is fascinating, though, to hear you talk about it, because you seem to have integrated all the efforts to overcome the obstacles with this gift. Let's call it a gift. So you have been gifted a natural struggle path that no one knew you had till you were 35.
Yeah, just that I didn't know that I'm putting an effort to it. It wasn't a conscious effort. It was just survival. For example, I caught myself meeting my next door neighbor for the last 35 years and calling her and saying to her, "Good morning, lady," because I didn't remember her name. But it was some kind of skill that I developed in order to just manage dealing with people. Later on, when I came to be examined and understood my situation, it was a huge relief, because I then could refer to it as something that does not govern me. It's something that I can see as a factor I need to I need to find a way to deal with, but it wasn't me trying to survive things.
Right.
Could you clarify? Well, you said something which is very interesting, which is you realized or could see it was something that did not have to govern you. You said it's something which does not have to govern you.
Yeah.
Now, I find that a very helpful distinction between being governed by something versus recognizing you do not have to be governed by it. Could you do two things here? One, clarify how you made that distinction, that separation. And two, what was the side effects, the upside of being able to make that separation?
Okay, so as I said previously, the moment my perception could understand a bigger picture of me, part of humanity, me, part of a bigger organism, and I started to realize that there's not such a thing as stupid people. There are different people with different capability, and yes, we might have different IQs and such, but each of us is a part of a bigger assembly with the option to partake in his uniqueness. And the moment I understood this, I could easily accept my difficulties and even bless them. I think that I live my life in the great majority of my life is gratefulness. At the end of my day, when before sleep, I go over my day, and I'm grateful for everything that happened there, because everything could allow me a different kind of success.
So you've begun to give us some guidance as to how you made the distinction. And you've introduced the notion of bigger picture thinking.
Yeah.
You immersed yourself or surrounded yourself in a bigger picture.
The bigger picture dawned on me gradually. It dawned on me by me gathering in my life the components of it that it could land upon. And when it dawned on me, I could change my life. Yes.
Okay, could you clarify then for us what those components are and were?
Maybe I'll go over some stations in my life and just go over the combined effect that they have had on my life. First of all, I have a very far memory. I remember till the age of 3 months, and it was rechecked by me describing the places and getting confirmation, and by the angle where I could see the picture. And I had a very, very deep connection with my previous life as well. Not that I remember exactly who I was and what, but the effects of them are very apparent. At the age of 5, I remember the picture clearly. I was standing in front of the kindergarten, looking at my parents who came to collect me, standing each by the other, and telling myself that if I don't do something with my life, I will end my life like them. And at that moment, my childhood ended. I stopped being a child. And it took me, and it was not very easy time since then, because some of the organic processes of human growth were not allowed. And I had to and still have to complete them by hard work. Hard work, yes. At the age of 16, I was sitting in front of my garden and looking at the grass. And I looked at the greenness of the grass, and then I closed one of my eyes and looked at it. It was green. But then I changed the eyes and I looked with the other eye, and I noticed difference in the shades of the green. And this was shocking to my life, because I understood that I will never know what is the real color of the grass. And thereby, everything that I believe about reality is relative and unstable and unsafe. This really was a shaking of my life. And since then, I began a frantic chase of ways and means to start to understand reality. And I chased everything apart from drugs. I think I tried everything. So I grew up in a strange condition, dyslexia, being disconnected from the flow of life as normal behavior is, and the strangeness of being in this world. My dyslexia caused me to be a very, very poor student, shame to my family, who considered very much success. And I was considered a failure, and I was blamed to be lazy, even though I put all my efforts in trying to understand all the insignificant information that I tried to shove to my brain. And so that's the way I came about life. And Then the army, I was in a special unit, in a commando unit. And we had to experience another level of hardship and difficulty, which is, by the way, as I see it, the twin sister of resilience. So all these things caused me to develop a very, very strong, very tough attitude towards life. And then something happened towards the end of the army service. Not actually in the middle. We went on an exercise to so-called conquer power station, Israeli power station, but as an exercise. And it was after a full week of wandering in the desert in a navigation course where we all had to navigate from one spot to a different spot far away in the desert in the night without anything apart from map. No compass, no nothing. Of course, no cell phones, which weren't there. And so we came to the connection point at the end of this week, very starved, very tired. And I put my head on the ground when we were waiting for the rest of the people to come. And in a second, I was asleep. But then I woke into a thunderstorm and a full a rain which was fully covering everything in a second. So we came out of it all muddy, very much like Napoleon's army when it was defeated in Russia, the escape from Russia, something like this. And we were trying to recover in a small hut that we found. But then we got the message that we need to continue. And I couldn't believe it because everything was wet. We had to change clothes and guns and shoes. And it was crazy, but we had to take go on in 7 minutes. And when we were outside, I told myself, nothing can get worse than this. The rain was so heavy, everything was wet, I couldn't protect from it. But a few minutes later, when we came to the sands of the shore, I realized how it can get much, much worse because the wind was shoving dry sand into my eyes, to my nostril. It got everywhere. It got into my liver and to my lungs and everything, everywhere. And I tried to avoid it. I tried to go backwards. I tried to cover myself with a shirt, and nothing could help until the moment that I realized that there's nothing I can do about it. I cannot avoid it. And at that moment, it was my first encounter of leaving my body, when I found myself floating like on a cloud, on a soft cloud covered with warm blanket and watching everything from above. It was the finest feeling I felt in my life up till this point. And till the end of the evening, it followed this special feeling. And that was, of course, that was something I couldn't understand at the point. I couldn't understand the mechanics of it. But it was an introduction to a different opportunity, a different possibility to live one's life. And my life got kind of a new phase of search, how I can connect to that. Yeah, follow to that was that I had many encounters with accidents of many kinds. Actually, all my body is shattered and broken and reassembled and so on. But there was one which was the most severe, which happened when I was 24, I think. And in that time, I was really at the verge of death, but I was so determined that my life has not fulfilled itself on this planet, that after 4 days I got out of my bed and helped other people to the toilet. And these 4 days were the happiest days in my life, because I was completely determined and I didn't have any place for all the binding forces that are causing what we call psychology. So that was another one. I would add another one. When eventually I got to the place which I searched all my life, and I got the tools and the clues how to proceed, I still was facing the difficulty because I couldn't really read. And I had to be able to develop other ways to connect. And it felt that whatever was coming from the teachers that I had, I was able to perceive the essence of it, not necessarily the wordings, in a different way. So I didn't have to read much. I could just hear a word or two, and this would put a cap on the full jar that I got already. But I also realized that I need to use these tools in a different way, which is to make everything to conquer every bit of belief, because it wasn't enough that I would be told that life, reality is like this or that. I couldn't accept it. I had to make myself a master of my own complex, my own territories which I increased, and by research. So I was researching naturally things that I was attracted to. One of them was symbology, sacred symbology, which soon became like antenna from the universe for me, which would deliver me its messages. The working of the brain, not by knowing which hemisphere and such things, but the principle by which the brain connects us to what we call reality. And maybe one of the bigger things is organic life evolution. And there was a time, maybe was, I think 6 years ago, when all these researchers joined together to create a full one picture. It's like I couldn't speak about human evolution without including in it symbology or the working of the brain. It was simply they all joined together and completed for me, for my life, a full picture of my existence and the meaning of this existence, not in a sense of final destination. I know it's limited, and I know it will have to be added to time after time after time. But it gave me a home in the sense that everything that I do, yes, everything that I do is related to the bigger picture. And I do this exercise with my lady many times when we open an issue. Let's say, why am I sitting by this table now? And I will give an answer, and then there will be the question, but why do you do it? And then I will give a bigger reference, and a bigger one, and a bigger one, until at the end, it will end by the final question, the answer, which is, I simply cannot not do it differently. That's how I am. That's what motivating power in my life. And when we reach this answer, we know that we covered all the ladder. So in a way, I would say that for me, resilience at the moment is being able to overcome the powers which draw me to either being attracted to something or avoiding something, because these two are the main powers that govern organic life up to this stage. That's the way I see it. All organic life subscribe to these two powers, either being attracted to something or trying to avoid something. And this is, of course, engraved in us, in every cell of our existence. And as I see it, the way I believe it, being joined to a higher perspective is the only way to manage resilience, for me, of course.
Yeah, because the question you were asked was in relation to making a distinction as to what you would not be governed by. And you said you needed to build some stepping stones, some foundation stones that will lead to the bigger picture. Because
I will just refer to the word distinction. I think that the word distinction also is governed by the principles of this existence that we have, which is very polarized, is very dichotomic, and so we need distinction for existence. It's inevitable. But what I'm talking about is a neutral factor. It doesn't take any position about things. It's much more to do with it's just quiet, neutral observation, without any effort and without any ambition. And this may sound as a I don't know, maybe not very grounded. But the more I meet this part in human existence, in my existence, I realize how full of power it is and how much effective it is if I just manage, if I just find the opening key to be in this existence. So, for example, something in me was governing the excitement and even I wouldn't say nervousness, but excitement towards this meeting. But I live somewhere else. I live in a place which can see it as part of this being, this existence. And by being there, I manage to not escape, not avoid, not put distinction, but to connect to a different reality.
I'd like to explore that with you.
What, Susan?
I'd like to explore that with you.
Oh, okay.
Let's clarify this scenario. You're invited onto a podcast. Ahead of the podcast, you feel some degree of excitement and nervousness. What did you then do to either neutralize or not be subject to that excitement and nervousness? What was your process?
Nothing. I do nothing. It is not doing this kind of doing, as I said, is based on some kind of ambition. And the greatest ambition is to avoid pain. And I can watch this as my distance from where I'm seeing a possibility to exist, of existence. I accept the distance. I am blessed by it. I am grateful by it, because if God wanted me to be perfect, He would not be doing this. And the fact that I'm not perfect is a gift which allows me to be useful for God. So I watch this, and and whatever we'll be doing will be accompanied by me watching it from another place in myself, which is growing and getting more and more confined and have its own. It's beginning to be much more unshuttered, not governed by my ambitions and such.
So this place in yourself which you accessed, you talked about there's another place in you. So there's not nothing going on. There's clearly a something going on to be able to make a separation.
Yes.
Otherwise, you would be subject to, affected by, and so on. But what you're describing is not being affected by or subject to because of your ability to access or find another place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think this is very interesting. There's a thread running through this conversation that is about really the theme of what one could be subject to in this life, in this part of the universe, in which, dyslexia is one aspect, or the psychology of I'm stupid, which may be the side effect of that, versus being able to find another line through which you'll be able to make decisions, understand life, deal with situations, deal with ups and downs. And I think we're talking about resilience here. This is a fascinating glimpse into the world of resilience and how it exists through this very calming, cooling, unattached separation where you find the other place.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of interested in the pathway that leads to the other place and how you walk that pathway, how you find the pathway, and how you walk the pathway to arrive at the other place. And when you arrive at the other place, what it feels like, what's there, what does it sound like, what does it taste like, what's it connected to, this mysterious other place that you're introducing us to.
Yeah, I'm considering how to approach your question. And I already see 4 pathways which I need to choose from. Just to say that it's what I'm talking about is something that might appear to the brain as paradox. But being able to live with a paradox is one of the means how you bar your way through this gate. So at this point which I described, when I had this great big accident, I actually experienced an NDE, near-death experience. And it was all like in the books, traveling in a dark and very, very comforting semi-darkness, traveling up to the light and coming up through a light tunnel to a room where I knew what was expecting me, somebody who would offer me to go on, but I refused, completely determined to stay because I knew that I still have, I did complete my mission on Earth, but I was given the ability to experience what I fully believe, is the next evolution of humanity, which everything is joined and connected. So you don't need to move towards something, or you don't need to look for something because you're joined with it. There's no distance, there's no time, and the knowledge is like a cloud which you just travel by, and you can turn right or left, and you will meet all kind of knowledge. And this is not because of ambition, this is not a cause of curiosity, it's just the ability to be joined. And many years later, when 6 years ago, which I told you was as the last station that I described, I met the live physical description of what I experienced there as the symbol of the flower of life, which you might know. Do you know this symbol? It's that one. Yes. And when I met it, it was really like I was hit by a train, because it contains for me a full information about the next elevation. And one can see that there's not one circle which stands aloof, stand by itself. Everything is joined. Everything is in a togetherness. So actually, there's no difference between this circle and that circle. They're all joined together. And the only so-called effort that one of these circles needs to do is to maintain its size. It's to stay in the right size as all the other. And the right size meaning, in relation to humanity, being as close as possible to what you are meant to be, of course. I arrange myself around what is easier for me that might be difficult for other people. But for me, this was the core of it was a trunk from which the branches could grow. But now it's time to come to a new balance. And the balance is the balance of shedding rather than adding or getting into something. The balance is being able to see what does not belong. And this is as painful and as difficult and even more difficult than the first part of the pendulum.
Emmy, anything you want to come in with?
Yes. What catches my attention at this point is what causes you to be so aware of what you need to let go of, what you need to shed. What is it?
Good question. How you become aware? I don't think there's one answer to that. It's being in acceptance of the fact that I don't know, that I'm not perfect, and there's all this garden of opportunities around me, which any experience that I face is an option to find the right key. And sometimes I cannot find the right key, and I spend myself being governed by the older things, like being attached, being avoiding something, or being after something, and then I trying to do all the things that I'm governed by. But there's still this part in me which is seeing the whole journey, and adding observance. And the next time that I will meet a similar situation, I will be closer to overcome it. I will be able to recognize the point where it captures me beforehand. Also, the fact that I have the picture of the coming universe, it is like a roadmap. It gives me a large sense of location and not being lost by what is coming my way.
So, what would you say to a young person who doesn't have your experience with life and who is seeking for their own purpose and who may not have the map that you've got? What would you say to them?
Yeah. At the beginning, I was very naive, and I was kind of trying to pull my understandings upon cool people who just wanted to get a sense of gravity. And I began to understand and learn slowly that it doesn't work this way. And I'm trying to realize how to make just small steps or give something that can not be overwhelming. And sometimes I'm practicing just being there without in a group, without interfering, without trying to be causative in any way, and let things just arch as it is the nature of things.
It sounds very natural.
Yeah. And I think that learning for me is by arching, really, not by understanding or not by struggling for. And I'm trying to bridge the difference that my upbringing caused by many arcing that I'm getting from people around me.
I feel the gratitude now.
Yes.
Might it be that gratitude is a fertile soil for...
Is what?
Might it be that gratitude is a fertile soil for resilience to grow in?
Yeah. Gratitude is the air that resilience breathes, the sun that gives it vitamin D, the ecology which places you very close to a real understanding what is really happening.
how an 80-year-old would experience this conversation.
Mm.
It's very inspiring. It's breathtaking for me. And I wonder if you would wish to say something about how to find access to this way of living your life. How do you start with very small steps to find your way, to rise above the limitations that we feel in this culture and in ourselves? Like in your example, the dyslexia. What would you say to maybe your grandchild when they are 18? How can you start to free yourself from these limitations?
Yeah, you touch one of the greatest pains that I have. I start from the opposite, and I will tell you how I make connection with people, and it's for my case is like a hawk.
Yes.
Recognizing something in a person and making myself available for what can arc from this engagement. And it's not mental, it's not informative, it's a quality. So I can see that my engagement with other people is kind of it's dual. It's on one hand very very coded, very determined, but on the other hand is learning to be together with no expectation, with nothing with no search for deepness or significance or something like this. Trying to overcome it, it's a huge mountain for me to climb.
Mm.
Not being bored in a casual conversation, being able to enjoy it, is something that I'm teaching myself, like somebody who lost control of his leg and now was injured and cannot walk, and now he needs to learn how to walk again. So that's on one side. I have two sons. One of them is Asperger syndrome, and he is a teacher in one way or another, because he's so close to being himself without any ambition to be something else. Of course, for me, it is difficult to see that he doesn't want to improve his life. He doesn't want to go forward or something like this. But he's a teacher. And the other one has another blessings. He does not is not in any other way, in any fashion close to a spiritual journey the way I see it. But his life is he's very clean person, very, very clean and full of gentleness and qualities that make him lovable in so many ways. And he's got so many friends, he and his wife, and his life and a small daughter, which is my grandson, 2 years old. They are a beacon for me of simple and joyful humanity. And to give another life the freedom to find his way, his real way, is one of our most sacred missions.
Beautiful, thank you.
And of course, people are unable to take in themselves most of the understandings that one needs many years to come to. And it will be rudeness to try to convince them to see things the way I see them. We need to accept the fact that they are different, and especially the fact that humanity is changing, and the next generation and the third generation are so different from what I used to take as standard living. So in a way, I'm really looking for invitation. I think that being able to respect other life and where they are and what they need at the moment, the first step that they need, is one of the things that I'm exploring at the moment.
Emmy, I wanted to ask you something. A few moments ago, when Dan was speaking, your response was beautiful. And I was wondering what you felt in that moment when you said that.
It's very easy to feel the beauty of this conversation. It was when you had this whole run, Dan. I think it was then. Well, I feel taken on someone's journey who is sharing the insights and the richness of what he has experienced, and leaves in the last part a lot of space for other people to find their own learning experience. But now I'm talking about the last part, actually. The sense of space and the freedom that you allow other people to find what they need in their time, not necessarily yours. That is very beautiful, because it seems to hold the value for everyone is different and everyone needs their own way and time to discover something that the witness may already have spotted somewhere, but then there needs to be the invitation first from someone else, maybe to you or maybe to a circumstance, the space you give to someone else to be themselves and to find their own ways and solutions to their difficulties with patience.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Dan, thank you very, very much for joining us today. It's been a really amazing journey and confirms our thoughts at the beginning that each person's life, unique and special, stories absolutely unique to you and the way you've edged your life here in this part of the universe. And it's a real privilege to witness, listen to, feel, and share. So thank you very much. And
Thank you.
there's a great deal, hopefully, of wisdom that will help people in their own unique journey and catch the way of some of the things you've shared today. From yourself, any final words to reflect on before we go?
I just hope it will be of use to anybody. And I thank you for your absorbance, because there's something, it really feels a bit like a bottle with a genie when somebody took out the cork. There's things which not I hold inside for many reasons, and your exploration has allowed something of it to come. So thank you very much.
Emmy, any final words?
Well, first of all, you're very welcome, Dan. I feel thankful that you have shown a little bit more of yourself. And there's an enormous depth to your existence. And I feel we've only touched upon a little bit. It's very special to hear someone open themselves this way. So thank you for your trust. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
So this has been A Place Called Resilience podcast with our special guest, Dan Ossia. A very rich life indeed. Please leave comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Take care.